This is TWiT.
Well, some very interesting stuff from Microsoft. It seems to be very much a leader in AI, and I love to see the interoperability, the open sourcing of WSL, the drive to make MCP and A2A, these agentic technologies, open and available to all. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, same. I like the orchestration of agents. This is, I mean, I keep talking about orchestration, but yeah, it's the interoperability that makes this stuff make sense.
Yeah.
It's Microsoft doing what they do best, building tools to make it easier for the rest of us to actually take advantage of this stuff.
Right. Yeah. What they didn't show, and somebody in the Discord or one of our wonderful club members mentioned, is how much it costs to create that new coolant chemical. Is it, and that's a good question. Is it something that is only going to be available to well-funded researchers, or is it something people can relatively inexpensively do? I guess bringing the cost down is something Nadella addressed with Jensen Huang.
I don't even know if they know what the costs are yet.
Right.
Like this is all experimental stuff. So
right.
It will be something to see, and there's optimizations to come. So
I think it's inevitable the costs come down, and that's what we've seen in computing forever. And I don't see any reason this would be different.
Yeah, this is what came up at the 50th anniversary a couple of months back. You know, what's Microsoft's core competency, right? Is it really? It's tech, right? But it's about democratization of tech.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Consistently. I mean, all along.
Putting a computer in every.
Back when
this has been the Microsoft shtick all along. Now, I'm not saying Microsoft isn't changing, but they're lowering the bar to getting access to these technologies has been their business.
Yep. Well, and I also think the leadership in open and interoperability is really important. And that's something historically Microsoft has not been very good at, or not been very much in favor of. And I think that they're sincere in that now.
Oh my God, yeah. We're past that, aren't we? Like, you know, there's still people like, oh, Microsoft, you can't trust those guys. It's like, I don't know. Although something like WSL, like my only question there is like, why now? Like what happened that triggered this, change? But yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff they're doing in A&I, the stuff they do in Dev, the Visual Studio Code stuff is always open. I mean, they're not just talking about it.
It seems to be they're doing it.
Yeah. Now they have proprietary models. They do. There is that. I mean, they're providing an infrastructure and a backbone for various industries, and that's still a big part.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about Phi, but they also say, and we can do it. We can do Grok too. I mean, I think that their openness is really interesting. The other thing that struck me is the burden now on Microsoft for security, and the question of whether people trust Microsoft when it comes to security, because privacy, security, sovereignty, these are really going to be big issues going forward. And you're putting a lot of eggs in Microsoft's basket.
Yeah, so it's not, I mean, you said people, and I know why, but it's businesses, it's governments, it's organizations of any kind, right? And I would say by and large, especially when you look at the Fortune 500 or whatever,
they trust Microsoft.
Yes, of course they do.
Yeah.
Now, governments, we can talk. I mean, but there was that, the EU was going to look into maybe we could do our own thing and get rid of big tech. And they were like, let's just be honest here, we're dependent on this,
Yeah.
And there are certain vendors, I feel like as a government or as a company, you might trust more than others. And I think for companies, especially Microsoft
is the one. Yeah. And it's almost certain that they're going to do a better job than you could with your own security, right?
You want to leave security and privacy to yourself. I mean,
I think they won this fight getting the cloud to be successful. Now you're just going to challenge it by making your data far more available to these models. But they've either done it or they haven't. I can't argue with the way they've moved on this. It's impressive.
Yep. The cloud queued up AI. And so all that foundational work they did and moving their infrastructure to the cloud with all of the permissions and all of that data protection and so forth is now being applied.
It's understood. It's accepted. Yeah, I thought it was interesting they highlighted MedOffice in the UK because here's a company that has essentially put all of their supercomputing capability on Azure.
I know.
And if the cloud were unreliable, if uptime were unreliable, that's disastrous.
But it's all kinds of things, right? There's the unreliable, but also performant,
right?
And it's the raw capabilities, the cost,
right? Right.
The whole spectrum of reasons, right?
And I think people trust Microsoft more than they would, say, for instance, AWS, Oracle, the competitors, right?
Yeah, this was a small thing in a long keynote, but he did mention, we have more local instances in more places than any cloud. That is true. And
that's surprising compared to AWS. You'd think they'd have more.
No, this has always been kind of the selling point as we go along in time. This has always been the case. And they have done this data sovereignty pledge. That's not the right term that they use, but to address the concerns of people, well, governments in other parts of the world, especially the EU. But
they were forced to do it before anybody else by legal action, and they had to respond to that. And now it's turned out to be an asset.
In the wake of that, it's really interesting to me how well they've done on these things.
Yeah.
Right? So GDPR was an early version of this. The DMA stuff that you see now in the EU, et cetera, like they just say, look, okay, we're going to work with you. We're going to do this. We're going to do this worldwide. We're going to do this for all of our customers. We're going to have this consistent experience. That's how you build trust. It happens over time.
Yeah, and I think credit to Satya Nadella's leadership because, of course, it was when he was a CEO, became CEO, that Microsoft was sued over storing data in the U.S. I forgot, was it the EU who sued them? And it was a big issue, and they solved the issue.
Or the UK, but it had something to do with
they pushed hard on sovereignty everywhere.
Now it's a part of the keynote, sovereignty, and I think that's really that's very important. And they've taken what could have been a real problem and made it an asset.
I mean, the big asterisk here still is the cost, right? So Microsoft, $20+ billion a quarter now directly into AI infrastructure. There was a little blip in downturn, I guess, in the last quarter, year over year, but don't worry, it's going up again. So, that question remains. And there was an interesting little bit of talk in there a bunch of times about, I can't remember the exact formula, but the performance per watt per dollar or whatever, or per whatever it was. And that's the holy grail is, lowering the costs on this stuff.
At this point, that's the number one complaint. Well, there's two complaints, of course, I hear from people about AI. One, of course, is the vast energy problem, but that's related to cost, of course.
They're the same thing, which, by the way, is why that liquid cooling was so interesting. Here's an idea. Why don't you point that at the data center? Could these things be submerged?
Well, they were. Didn't you see? Satya Nadella showed that they were using liquid cooling in some of their data centers.
Yeah, but just throw it in the whole thing.
Submerge the whole thing.
Make the whole, just put the whole thing in there.
Google was considering that an underwater data center.
There's a hole in the Microsoft campus, at least to the center of the Earth. There's literally like a geothermal, station occurring.
The other issue, of course, is copyright, and I don't think they addressed that at all today. I think that's a hot button topic.
I do think the MCP A2A stuff and
solves some of that, doesn't it?
Well, because what you're doing there is giving publishers or content creators a way to embrace a standard that will allow that to be shared, through agreement.
We'll see how widespread support for this is.
Right.
They say, it's support. You already have schema for, your data. You already have some way of presenting that, and we can integrate with that. And it's interesting using AI to create the interoperability, to create the connectors. Is that what Fabric? Partly what Fabric is all about is data connectors.
It's all bringing data from multiple sources, doing analysis on it.
Right.
Guys, I got to jump. There's the action in the booth here. So
get out of here. See you, Richard.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Richard Campbell. Run His Radio. We'll see you Wednesday. We'll talk more about this. Paul Thurrott, you've got places to go too. I see you're there as well. Enjoy your build. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. It made it much more, much better than it would have been if it was just me.
I'm not sure how lively we were exactly, but
hey, we watched together. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Richard. Take care. Bye-bye. And a special thanks to all our club members. This is the first time we've done it this way, which is not in public, but club only. And it may, of course, because of that, there's no advertising. And there's, no way for us to monetize this, except that I think it's a valuable part of the club membership. I hope you feel the same way too. I hope you appreciate your club membership. We sure appreciate it. And I hope you'll tell your friends and family too, that if you want the best content, the best way to do it is to join the club. Thank you, club members. Thanks to everybody in Discord. We really appreciate it. We will be doing this again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. for Google I/O. We expect a 2-hour keynote. We expect to go to noon tomorrow, which means we'll push MacBreak Weekly back an hour, and with any luck, only push Security Now back half an hour. I'm going to try to kind of shorten MacBreak Weekly to accommodate that. And then after Google I/O, there's also Apple's WWDC keynote. That's June 9th next month. Micah and I will be doing that. We will continue, and I think we're going to have Jeff and Paris join me tomorrow for the Google I/O keynote. So this is something we want to keep doing, these keynote commentaries. Some companies, well, Apple particularly, don't like that idea. We feel like it's fair use. We're commentating on public streaming information from the company, giving you additional information and background on what the company says. And we want to keep doing it. So instead of putting it out on YouTube and Twitch as we have in the past, we're just going to do it here in the club. Thank you, club members, for making that possible. We're glad we have the club. Thanks to Anthony Nielsen, who got up early. He and Tiberius monitored this entire event and kept it going. Thank you, Anthony. I really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who joined us in the Discord. And give us your feedback. I think this is a good way to do it. I feel pretty positive about this. Let's hope we can continue to keep these keynotes going, because I think they're very important. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. What?
I was just going to say, if anyone missed or came in late,
TWiT Plus
you could catch this. Yeah.
So that's the other thing, is we'll do them live, as we always have, streamed only in the Discord. And I know that Discord streaming is sometimes problematic. So that's why we also record it, and we'll make it available to you. If you don't want to suffer through the vicissitudes of Discord streaming, you'll be able to do it on the TWiT Plus feed without any of that. And that's going to go up almost right away. There's not a lot of editing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this Microsoft Build 2025 keynote with Satya Nadella. We will see you tomorrow morning for Google I/O. Take care. Hey, buddy, are you a geek? Are you a tech enthusiast? Then I would love to invite you to join a tech community like no other. You can gain exclusive access to our incomparable quality tech content with Club TWiT. As a member, you'll enjoy all TWiT TV shows ad-free, plus access private video feeds for insider shows like iOS Today, Home Theater Geeks, and so much more. Dive into the members-only TWiT Plus bonus feed for behind-the-scenes content, club discussions, and special events. But here's the best perk. Join our incredible Discord community to watch live show productions, chat with hosts, and participate in exclusive members-only activities. It's your backstage pass to the world of TWiT. Whether you're a tech enthusiast or a lifelong learner, Club TWiT elevates your knowledge while entertaining your interests. Get 2 weeks free when you sign up now and unlock unparalleled access at twit.tv/clubtwit. That's twit.tv/clubtwit. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you and welcome to the club.